What's up, people? Got another live video. So I've seen people talking about Wilder being the best heavyweight alive, and so on and so on and so on. The problem I have with that is, how is he the best heavyweight based on this performance? Isn't this not a guy he knocked out before? So he just rematched the same guy that he knocked out and knocked him out a little sooner. That makes him the best heavyweight out there. Come on now. He already knocked him out, so it doesn't change anything. So no, he's not the best heavyweight out there because of that. He faced this guy and knocked him out the first time. He comes back and he knocks the guy out sooner. Doesn't mean anything. He already knocked the guy out. Why was this rematch even necessary? You know what I mean? So no, that doesn't make him. If he wasn't the best heavyweight before that, then how can he be the best heavyweight now? Intangible Boxing says Wilder's the best heavyweight according to my criteria. Well, it better not involve the Luis Ortiz fight that recently happened. It better not. Why? Because he already knocked Luis Ortiz out. He already knocked him out. He faced a guy that he already solved and knocked out. And it didn't do him much. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, hi, boxing fans. Sorry about that. Tangible says, I don't rate fighters on skill at all. Well, then something wrong with you, because it wasn't you. Was it you or somebody else was talking about? You were just talking about Canelo's great. He's not the greatest skilled fighter or some shit like that. So if you're mentioning skills, then you have it factored somewhere in your rating. You have to rate fighters on the abilities they possess. You have to rate them on what you see in the ring. But that's not the point here. It's not the point here. The point here is Luis Ortiz, Wilder knocked him out already. So he's just doing the same thing he did before. So that shouldn't move him up the wrong. Why should I move him up the wrong? He did the same thing he did before. He knocked out Ortiz. Everybody expected him to knock out Ortiz. Right? It's a rematch. And Dominic Brazil, I mean, if you guys want to rate Dominic Brazil as something, fine. I mean, but at the end of the day, he was supposed to win those two fights. Right? Better competition than Tyson Fury's competition? Absolutely. So if you want to go there. But does that make him better than Tyson Fury? I don't think so. But we'll know if he's the best heavyweight in the division when he faces Tyson Fury again in the rematch. And I'll settle that. But as of now, he ain't, in my opinion. He ain't done nothing to show me that he is. He just reinforced what he already did before. He knocked out Luis Ortiz, which he did before. I'm just saying. He already did that. He knocked out Dominic Brazil. AJ knocked out Dominic Brazil. What did I mean? Dominic Brazil is the guy that he's supposed to be a tough guy. He ain't got no fucking defense. Right? Tailor-made for Deontay Wilder. So, I mean, you could say that Tyson Fury, he had a tough fight against Otto Wallen. Right? And so therefore that takes his status down. Maybe you could say that. And that Wilder dominated his two fights, knocked out his two opponents. You could say that. That would be fair. But me personally, I think he's the same status that he always was. Number 2. Fury's number 1. In spite of all the shit that Fury did. But thankfully the next fight is going to sort that problem out. His next fight is with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury's next fight is with him. So we'll know who's number 1 and number 2 from that fight. And that will determine also the lineal champion. Because guess what? Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder are number 1 and number 2 in the heavyweight division. And when the number 1 faces the number 2, we get a lineal champion born. So we will have a lineal champion at the end of that fight. Isn't that cool? I think so. Intangible is trolling in other channels. Beware. Okay. Intangible says, I rate fighters currently on consistency, resume, and accomplishments. Okay. Intangible says, Wilder's defenses and consistency bring him over the hump. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, Intangible cannot see my messages. He is blocked by most. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, should Deontay be a Hall of Famer currently? What? No. 10 defenses. This is what they're going with. 10 defenses. What, 9 by a knockout? Or 8 by a knockout? Some shit like that. 9 by a knockout, I think it is. I think he's what is he now? 41 fights, 39 knockouts, something like that. Something like that. All right. I mean, I just don't think that's Hall of Fame material. That's just my personal opinion. Intangible Boxing says, for example, Carl Froch was never one of the top 10 most skilled fighters, but he was on the pound-for-pound list because of his resume and accomplishments. Again, you come with this most skilled stuff. Dude, you gotta explain yourself when you talk about most skilled. Because, remember, their argument for Canelo not being above Terence Crawford and Lomachenko is they're more skilled than him. So I'm not quite sure what that means. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, Wallen brought that heat. Fury was never supposed to even get touched by Wallen, and he got touched. Tangible Boxing says, Kawanaki versus Pulev coming up. Yeah, they're saying it's for the IBF title. So they're ready to destroy the Undisputed. IBF is ready to chop up the Undisputed if Andy Ruiz wins the fight. So it's some bullshit we got to deal with. And this is the politics of boxing. This is what I try to explain to you people. This is the fucking ass politics of boxing. This is why it's so hard to become undisputed. You have to actually play political games with people to be able to become undisputed. That's why I don't rate Undisputed that great. Because there are a lot of guys who face guys who were world champions and shit and should be undisputed, who are not undisputed, right? But they face the guys. There's the competition that they faced that was worth the time, worth talking about. All right? But the politics of fucking boxing is what keeps people from being undisputed. But as Mauricio Suleiman says, we know who the man of the division is. In the 160 division, it's Canelo. In the 175 division, it's Artur Beterbiev. It was Kovalev. In the 168 division, well, we still sorting that shit out. They say it's Callum Smith. They rate him as number 1, but we're still checking to see. We're not sure yet. All right. In the 154 division was Jarrett Hurd. Now it's J Rock. Right. We know who the man of the division is. Raul Ramirez says, as of now, you would have to call Wilder the best heavyweight. Nope, not me. I wouldn't say that. Like I said, he knocked out a guy that he knocked out already. What does that do for him? Nothing. It does nothing for him. Now, you guys are going, oh, man, he just knocked out this dude out of the... Listen, man. It's a dude he knocked out already. What is wrong with you people? He knocked him out already. All it's creating is this lore or this mythos around Wilder. Oh, man, he's a one-punch guy. If he catch you with one punch, he knock you out. It's just a narrative. You can't believe the fucking hype. They did it with Gennady Golovkin. They did it with Thomas the Hitman Hearns. They did it with his coach. Okay? They did it with him. They did it with they do it with all kinds of fighters. They sensationalize shit. All right? That same fucking night, Deontay Wilder's brother got knocked out by one punch. A guy that went Sao Paulo and knocked him down. Does that mean that guy, man, his punching power is great enough? No. It is because the guy set up the shot. And the other guy didn't see it coming. So the hype train's cool and everything for marketing and shit, for Wilder to become a superstar, but let's just dial it back a bit, shall we? Let's talk some boxing. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says 9 Uber drivers. I hear you. He may well be being through some terrible Hall of Famers. 9 Uber drivers. Who is this? Are you talking about Wilder or Tyson Fury? Because both of them have their fair share of Uber drivers. That's the thing about both of them. But what we do know is there's a day of reckoning coming where Wilder will face Tyson Fury, and then we will know. I still favor Fury to win, but we'll see. Mr. Pigeon said Fudge is not a Hall of Famer currently. He will be, say, 2022. Possibly, yeah. He's going to be first ballot. Tangible Boxing says, I'm not blocked by most channels. I go on Unbiased, D, EJ. I've even been on Unrival stream before. Okay, cool. Mr. Pigeon, Mike Tyson says, Kawanaki pull off hell no as a champ. They never deserve that. You know, I'm not saying they don't deserve it. I'm just saying the IBF was trying to fuck up a Ruiz or Joshua. Well, a Ruiz or Joshua versus Wilder fight, when a unification should trump any kind of fucking mandatory. You know, unless it's a vacant title, which it wasn't. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, here is a great quiz fact. Muhammad Ali is not a Hall of Famer. What? He's not in the Boxing Hall of Fame? And DT3. Okay. Tangible Boxing says, Fury has not had a significant win since Vladimir Klitschko. True. That is true. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, Wilder. What about Wilder? He didn't win officially. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, I'm shocked Nigel Benn is not a Hall of Famer or Chris Eubank. And yet, Nassim Hamed is. Yeah, boy. Good point. Good point. It is what it is, I guess. It is what it is. Politics, like I said before. Tangible Boxing says, you could say Wilder, but at the end of the day, it was ruled a draw. I did have Fury winning. Me too. But it was ruled a draw, so we have to deal with that. That's just what went down in history. And that's what's going to be the fact. We can talk about, and show how Fury won the fight and all of that shit, but the facts are, what's written down, which is the facts, is it's a draw. It don't really matter how much we talk. It's not going to change. We can highlight and show why we think a certain fighter won, but we can't really, the facts are what they are. Fury was winning quite comfortably. Yeah, I went through the fight and everything. Yep. He did. But yeah, so my thing is, I don't think that Wilder's the best heavyweight in the world right now. But I can tell you this, though. That he's going to face Tyson Fury, and that will be decided in the ring. So we don't have to worry about that. That's the next fight. So whether some of you believe he is the best heavyweight, or you believe that Fury's the best heavyweight, because it's between them two. Some people say Andy Ruiz because he has more belts. And this is the bullshit that I try to tell you guys. Try to keep on telling you guys. Belts don't make a guy. All right? A guy can have all the belts. He can have all the belts except for one. Right? But the other guy could be better than him. Right? Anthony Joshua had more belts. But ain't nobody blinking an eye and hesitating to say Deontay Wilder would knock his ass out and Tyson Fury would outbox his ass. We, just looking at the eye test, know that these two guys are the best guys in the division. But, of course, they need to get in the ring and actually show it. But nonetheless, my point is, sometimes having all the belts or most of the belts don't mean that you're the best. You could have all the belts. You could be undisputed, right? Politics lined up and everything, and you got all the belts, right? But you're not the best, right? But in boxing, to be the best, you have to beat the best. And if you can't beat the best, then you can't beat the best. So we had certain fights in history where Pernell Whitaker never faced Julio Cesar Chavez until welterweight, but he was lined up to face him at lightweight. So what? They said Julio Chavez was a better boxer than Pernell Whitaker, but it wasn't so. At lightweight, Pernell Whitaker was better than Julio Cesar Chavez, and he proved it when they went to welterweight and they fought at welterweight. He proved he was better than Chavez. Now, we call it the rubber of the century, but the facts are the fight was called a draw. But if you ask me, every day of the week, Whitaker would have beat him. Whitaker lost to Jose Ramirez. And Jose Ramirez held on to his title, right? Whitaker lost that fight, but he didn't lose, right? He was the better man that night. But Jose Ramirez held on to his title. Let's say that an undisputed champion, he gets beat by the other guy, but the other guy's robbed. And the undisputed champion remains undisputed champion. Is he the best in the division? No, he's not. It really should go to the other guy that beat him. These are the things that happen throughout history. We've seen it multiple times, okay? And so just being undisputed or just being a world champion is not enough to say you're the best. Politics plays a role in the best, and especially being a belt collector. I have a problem with people who are belt collectors. They're just going after belts. I have a problem with it. Because you don't really care who your opponent is. You just won the belt. I have a problem with that. I understand you want to get the belt so you can get more money, more pay, and whatever. But it should always be about beating the best. It's about facing the best and beating the best. Sometimes the best, sometimes you have a mandatory, right? Your mandatory is actually better than okay, let me ask you guys this. Devin Haney, do you think he's a better fighter than Richard Comey and Teofimo Lopez or not? Do you think he's a better fighter than Richard Comey or Teofimo Lopez? You can answer that in the comment section. Jermell Charlo, do you think he's a better fighter than Sergey Kovalev or not? Because that's the guy that Canelo ended up fighting. Current Sergey Kovalev. He ain't the Crusher no more. That current version. Is Jermall Charlo a better fighter than him? Because why I say this is because Jermell Charlo didn't have no belt. If Canelo faced Jermell Charlo, I would argue that he would have a tougher fight than what he had against Sergey Kovalev. As much as Sergey Kovalev was bigger, stronger, I think he would have a tougher fight because Jermall Charlo is younger, fresher, stronger, right? I think he would have a tougher fight because both of them have similar styles. Now Sergey Kovalev got the resume. He got the resume, right? He got the what's the word I'm looking for? He got the history. He got the legacy behind him, right? Charlo didn't have that. But when it comes to who's going to stay stronger on the inside, if Canelo went to the inside, who would be stronger on the inside? Who have better inside game? Who's stronger all around? Like he's stronger all around. Canelo could have a sustained body attack Charlo, but yet he would still stand up. He wouldn't get knocked out like how. Who had better stamina? Charlo got better stamina than Sergey Kovalev, right? So Canelo versus Charlo would be a tougher fight, in my opinion, than Canelo versus Kovalev once he can get over the weight advantage, because Kovalev would be bigger. He would punch harder, okay? Obviously, because he's a higher weight class, all right? I'll put it in perspective so you guys will understand why I say belts are great, but they definitely not everything in boxing. And I know that when you begin in boxing as a pro, you're looking to become a world champion. But that's step one. Remember, there are levels to boxing, right? When you get to become a champion, then you want to face other champions. Why do you want to face other champions? Because you want to face a certain level of competition, right? I'm reasoning it through with you guys so you guys can understand, because there are a lot of guys who agree with what I'm saying. Some very experienced people in the profession. That's why I speak with authority like this, because I'm talking from their perspective, okay? And you guys look at me and say I'm talking crazy, but I'm talking from their perspective. This is not my idea, okay? I don't know boxing like that. So I'm breaking it down for you guys to understand. So yes, you want to face other champions as well and unify. But if you can't face other champions, then what do you face? You want to face the best out there, which means you're either facing a guy that's a contender who's really a very promising person, or you're looking at facing somebody who is a name, maybe a former world champion, maybe a guy with a great legacy. Maybe he's not a world champion right now, but he has a great legacy behind him, and he's doing well. He's performing well, and he seems to be a threat to you. So this is the kind of things that you're looking at in boxing, okay? And more back in the days. So, for instance, Deontay Wilder facing Luis Ortiz is a perfect example of this. Luis Ortiz, great pedigree, seemingly ducked a lot in the boxing game. Dangerous, skilled. So he decided to face Luis Ortiz. And he didn't face him but once, but twice, okay? Didn't need to fight him the second time, but he did. Point being, you want to face the very best you could possibly face. Because when you face the best, you're seen as the best when you beat the best. So that's the whole point behind boxing. Now, sometimes the best is the world champion. Sometimes the best is not a world champion. The point behind it is, whoever the people see as the best, that's who you want to face. Because you're building your cachet. You're building your legacy. Your legacy is not built on belts. Your legacy is built on who you face and who you could beat. It's always built on that. If it happens that they have belts, great. If it happens that you're unifying belts, that's a plus. That adds to your legacy. But your legacy, your core legacy, when people talk about how many ATGs this guy faced, how many lineal champions, it's not the lineal champion so much that's so important. It's the guy that beat the guy. That's what's important. So that's the thing that I think a lot of you guys may not get from what I'm saying. I always say it. I'm very consistent in what I say. I say, unless I've been corrected about something, then I change my tune. Or other than that, I'm very consistent in what I say. Okay? But anyway, back to what we was talking about with Deontay Wilder. Honestly, I don't think he's the best heavyweight out there. I still think it's Tyson Fury, because I rewatched the Tyson Fury fight. He protected his body quite well. However, Deontay Wilder has more variety, I thought. He tries different things, much more than Tyson Fury does. Tyson Fury does one style. Tangible Boxer says, do you know any channels where I'm blocked aside from BL's live channel? I don't know who BL's is. I'm cool with him though. Who's okay, Boxing Librarian. But I think you probably are blocked from Boxing Ego. I'm blocked from Boxing Ego. However, I'm Dante's Boxing Nation. He's cool, man. It don't matter if you agree or disagree with him. He don't block you, which is cool. The best heavyweight will be decided in the AJ versus Ruiz rematch. No. No. I don't think so. But hey, if you think so, cool. That just means then that we can't really decide on who's the best heavyweight. All right? And which means those guys will have to face each other. That's all it means. But I don't think so. That's just my personal opinion. You don't have to agree with it. Right? I don't think that AJ or Ruiz were the best heavyweights out there. Ruiz is a problem, though. So, he is a problem. So, you may have a point. Dan Raphael of ESPN said Wilder will lose within 2 years. Oh, he got a crystal ball or something? What's he talking about? I can't say. I can't say if he'll win or lose. We'll see. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says Nigel Benn had legit title defenses, WBC, WBA, IBF, etc. Yet WBO one belt champ Kawasaki gets in above him. Interesting. Basically nonsense. Benn had 16 WBC defenses? It's insane. Yeah, but again, you got to ask yourself, who did Nigel Benn face? That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. It always comes down to that. Why? Because you have to pick these Hall of Famers out of devoid of weight classes. Right? So let's imagine this guy gets every single belt available in one weight class. But yet another guy, he goes on to go multiple weight classes and get multiple different belts. What does that mean? So we have to find a way to equalize the playing field. And the only way we can do it, and I did a whole video on this, is by really, the only way you can actually look to equalize the playing field is to look at the level of opposition these guys have faced. So that you're not thinking weight class per se, even though that's a part of an aspect you have to think about, a guy going up in weight and stuff. But you also have to think about the level of opposition they faced. That's the best way to look at it. And when you look at it that way, it levels every single playing field that's out there. So if I look at a dude who faced a top level guy, not just a top 10 guy, maybe a top 5 guy, or maybe even not even a top 5 guy, a top 3 guy. That's big. Top 3 guy. But it depends on what division it is. If it's a weak division, the top 3 guy, the top 3 guy could be just like, dude become a champion and then disappear. He was a titleist, sorry. He won a world title and that was it. I mean, that's cool, but that's cool, but that's different to another guy who won 2 world titles unified against dudes who was really somebody, like a Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman unified with Danny Garcia. We know those names. Danny Garcia was undefeated. Danny Garcia was the dude at super lightweight, right? Came up to welterweight, beat Robert Guerrero, got a WBC title, and faced Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman beat him. All right? Then Keith Thurman turns around and faces former IBF world champion Shawn Porter and beats him. After that, Shawn Porter becomes WBC world champion. Now that's different. Because Shawn Porter, 2-time world champion, first of all. Second of all, beat guys like Devin Alexander, beat Paulie Malignaggi. But then he had also good wins against guys like Danny Garcia, right? Or Dennis Ugas. Okay? Lost to Errol Spence. So when you're talking about, and Shawn Porter's faced everybody. He faced Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Errol Spence, Dennis Ugas. He just hasn't faced Pacquiao, and he hasn't faced Terrence Crawford. You get them? He faced all the top welterweights. That's crazy. Okay? So when you talk about that, that's different. To say, like I said before, using an example, just an example of a dude facing a guy who's a weak champion. The guy just became a titleist, and that was it. He never even defended his title successfully. So, like, for instance, Gennady Golovkin versus David Lemieux. Lemieux knocked down and signed him down multiple times. Signed him down, got up for right. Cool. Won the world title that way, IBF. Gennady Golovkin comes in, beats David Lemieux. But David Lemieux is not known as a boxer. He's a puncher. He can scrap, but he's not a boxer, right? So he wins the world title. His first defense, he loses it. He's just a world titleist. He's not even a world champion. He's a world titleist, we call him. Right? So, yeah, he got a title off a world titleist. But, I mean, at the end of the day, when you beat somebody like a Miguel Cotto, or you beat somebody like a Danny Jacobs, or you beat somebody like a Timothy Bradley, or you beat somebody like even a Jesse Vargas. Jesse Vargas, but he's better than a David Lemieux. You get what I'm saying? It gives you credibility to you because these guys have shown that they are multiple world champions. They've been champion more than one time. And then they didn't just become champion beating some stud or some bloke, especially Timothy Bradley. They beat guys who actually are legends or whatever. They defended their title and beat, This is the kind of thing we're talking about, okay? So resume is the key. And resume, well, it's one of the keys because you still got to look at the in-ring stuff that they do and the skills that they bring in and all that. And the smarts they bring in and all that. But resume is big because resume shows us not just how many championships, belts, and trinkets you gather, but more importantly, which is why we even talk about Floyd Mayweather, not having many Hall of Famers and all that shit. You have to look at not just how many champions I beat. What does that mean? I beat so many champions. Yeah, but they weren't champions when you faced them, so what does it matter? Right. But if you face guys that you actually face who were champions, it's different because it says there's a certain level to them. They reached the top of the game. And if they were champions for a very long time, beating really legendary names, then you got to give them the credit for their being champions, not just them being champions. All right? That's why we look at Victor Ortiz and we like, Who cares about him? Why? Because he was a titleist. His first defense, he failed to keep his title. Right? So that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. And a lot of people just don't get what I'm saying, which is sad, because in the professional world, they understand what I'm talking about. So with Nigel, Ben, and Kazaki, you got to ask yourself, because what kind of names did Kazaki face? What kind of names Nigel Ben face? So you got to ask yourself. If the belts don't matter, I never said the belts don't matter, dummy. You keep on saying that. Y'all are so stupid. If y'all going to say this shit to me, then leave, okay? Just don't say nothing, because you keep on saying stupid things, okay? I never said the belts don't matter, and y'all keep on. It's like your brain can't process that the level of competition is more important than how many belts you win. Why is that so hard for you to process in your head? I never said the belts don't matter. Obviously they do, because that's how people become world champion. And if you begin your career, you want to become a world champion. It's a step. It's a level in the fucking chain. Why can you not process that shit? Why is it you go right back to the stupidest, dumbest ass argument that I never made? You guys keep on saying belts don't matter. Why the fuck would I say something like that? Then why do they have belts in boxing then? Don't have no belts then. Fuck it. Don't have no weight classes then. I mean, if we're going to go down that stupid ass road. But if I say, you know, that the level of competition is what matters most in boxing, that's different. Otherwise, then fuck weight classes. Weight classes don't matter either. This guy went up 4 weight classes. It don't matter. It's just who he faced. That's the argument you're making. It's just stupid. Okay? Weight classes matter. Belts matter. Okay? I am talking about for your legacy. Why is it that you are so stupid that you can't understand that shit? It's always who you face and who you beat that determines your fucking legacy. Why is it you can't understand that? Why is it that it takes so long for it to get into your hard, hollow head that it is that I am speaking about? Why is that so hard for you to digest in your brain? Over and over, you guys say the same dumbass shit. And it annoys me, because I'm an intelligent person. And I assume you are intelligent too. You go right back to the same dumbass argument I never made. So it's not that belts don't matter. Just because I say belts sit in a room collecting dust, which is what they do. Unless you strap them on you and you walk around with them, they're collecting fucking dust. They're trophies. Just like our trophies sit in a room and collect dust. They're symbols of victories you had against certain people. Why is that something so hard to understand? At the end of the day, when they are looking at your fucking legacy, it's not how many belts you have. It's who you faced. It's great that you had so many. Well, how many belts does Floyd have? Like 14 or some shit like that? 14 or 15 or 16 belts or some shit like that. You got a lot of belts. You got a room full of belts. But those belts won't mean as much and won't definitely not get you in the Boxing Hall of Fame if they don't got some names strapped to them. Why is that so hard to understand? Even the great Joe Louis had names attached to his wins. He had names attached to his undefeated streak. At least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. And he's not even remembered for that. He's remembered for the Max Schmeling fights. The momentous occasion. That's what Joe Louis is most remembered for. If y'all being strictly honest. Which weren't title fights, as far as I do know. And this is just the thing. A lot of you guys just don't think. Like, you don't process nothing. You can't think. So when I tell you something that's a deeper truth, a lot of you motherfuckers go right back to the surface. It's like I'm dealing with a dumbass. Well, you know, belts don't matter. That's what you saying. Come on, man. Be smart. At least process the argument. Raw Ruiz says, hell no. Why did you want Canelo to face Andre for the undisputed over the much bigger name Kovalev? Well, for one, Canelo said he wanted to be undisputed and collect every single belt at the end of the year. He said that. And I was like, all right, cool. When was the last time somebody was undisputed? And on top of that, it was Demetrius Andrade. It was Demetrius Andrade. That's a fight I wanted to see. Canelo versus Demetrius Andrade. So double whammy. Love it. Love it. So he would have been undisputed with names. That would have meant something. This was what he would have been. He'd have won the lineal championship from Miguel Cotto. Get stripped of the WBC belt. Go back and face Gennady Golovkin and win the lineal championship again, they say, but that's bullshit. He was lineal champion already. He would win the WBC and WBA belts because the guy was unified champion. But he would have beaten Gennady fucking Golovkin. That's how he gets his WBA belt. The WBC was his anyway. Then he would face Danny fucking Jacobs and get the IBF belt. And then finish it off with fucking Demetrius fucking Andrade. That shit is lit. You kidding me? That's a bona fide undisputed. That's what I talk. When you talk about undisputed, that's what it's supposed to look like. Okay? That's what it's supposed to look like. He beat all the top ninjas, one after the other, with reputation. Demetrius Andrade hadn't lost a fight since God knows when. All the way back in the amateurs, okay? You're talking about fucking Danny Jacobs, the man that knocked out Peter Quillen and beat Gennady Golovkin unofficially, okay? Plus beat a whole bunch of other people, but then beat Derevyanchenko to win the IBF title. And we saw Derevyanchenko beat Gennady Golovkin's ass, okay? So he should have been the rightful owner of the IBF title, but it is what it is. So at the end of the day, my point is, that's fucking crazy, okay? Plus, he said he wanted to be undisputed. He would have been the first Mexican fighter to be undisputed. But besides that, them fucking names, motherfucker. You can't deny. Those are great names. Are you kidding me? Tell me this. Let's be real. Now, we know Sergey Kovalev is a name, which is a tougher fight. I asked this question again. I asked about Jamal Charlo versus Canelo versus Jamal Charlo versus Sergey Kovalev. Demetrius Andrade versus Canelo. Versus Sergey Kovalev versus Canelo, which is a tougher fight for Canelo. Come on now, bring it. Bring it. Bring it. Do you know which one was tougher? All right, let me try and get through. I might not be able to get through all of you guys because I got to go. Mr. Pigeon, Mike Tyson says, Charlo would not be the same dude after fighting Canelo, though. Yeah, he would improve. More than likely, he would improve his game. Afro-American Thought says, but he's bigger than Canelo. You saw what happened with Danny Jacobs down the stretch with Canelo. He was handling his own and catching Canelo with some shots. So I'm assuming Jamal Charlo would do the same. It's just that he probably start off slow. And then, he got some inside game. Don't get it wrong. Afro-American Thought says Jamal Charlo is a cruiserweight fighting at middleweight. That's how big he is. He's a big motherfucker, that's for sure. Mr. Pigeon, Mike Tyson says he needs to prove himself far, far more. Who's that, Jamal Charlo? No, man. He was mandatory. He didn't have to prove shit. He was mandatory. Y'all can't say that. Not if a guy's a mandatory. It's totally different. He put himself in position to be where he should have been, so Canelo should have obliged him. Afro-American Thought says Jamal Charlo's downfall is experience, correct? Yeah, well, Canelo got a lot more experience than Jamal Charlo. And plus, his fighting style is one that's tailor-made for Canelo, in my opinion. Demetrius Andrade is more fluid. He can do a lot more things. It's more versatile. Mr. Pritchard Mike Tyson says, that said, Afro, I like watching him. He draws a crowd. Yeah, he just draws a crowd for sure. For sure. Yep. But my point is, between Jamal Charlo and Sergey Kovalev, which would have been a tougher fight for Canelo, Afro-American, in your opinion, Afro-American Thought says Canelo is too good for Jamal right now. He will school him. I mean, you say that, but we need to see it. You know what I mean? Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says Canelo already popped dirty. No, actually, he's not. See, USADA was doing this already. If Canelo was with USADA, he wouldn't have been dirty. But WADA raised the detection level for clenbuterol. And according to Mauricio Suleiman, also another drug that Povetkin was caught dirty with. Because it used to be all or nothing, but they realized that in certain countries, you can actually get it in the food. And that's why the levels are below the threshold of one, what is it, 1 picogram or some shit like that, picoliter or some shit like that. Mr. Pigeon Mike, Canelo, so he not really dirty. Canelo wasn't dirty. And they didn't even do it for Canelo. It was for some other guys in Mexico. Long story. We could talk about that some other time. Ron Ramirez says, Boxing Shago is a sad man. Boxing Ego, he cool. I don't watch his stuff so much anymore, but Raul Ramirez says he gains a substantial amount of subscribers just by hating on certain fighters. Yeah, I know. He don't like Canelo. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says McClellan and Julian Jackson was straight up amazing fight. Yes, it was. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says Boxing Ego is a clout chaser. It's pathetic. I agree. I mean, he pro-black. I mean, I ain't mad at him. Certain things he says is true. He try to keep it balanced, but when it comes to Canelo, he can't keep it balanced. He hate on Canelo. He and Dante, they look for every opportunity to hate on Canelo. It is what it is. They don't like Canelo. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, at WBC, Ben found 4 straight up killers. Dudes like McClellan. And about 7 of those defenses were against real live dudes, Hall of Famers or close. I mean, we'll see. I mean, if that's the case, then maybe. I don't know. I can't say. I have to actually look at his career. I haven't not. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says Deontay's resume is a freak show, a hall of shame. You see, you guys bash the dude. He faced some good fighters, or just not, not B level or A level fighters, but he faced some good fighters. He's not necessarily dog shit. And again, he didn't have a lot of amateur experience, so he's going to have a lot of fights. Tangible Boxing says, if belts don't hold great significance, why did you want Canelo to face Andrade for the undisputed over a much bigger name, Kovalev? Because Andrade brings to the table skills, my friend. Skills. As I asked you, and I will ask you again, Sergey Kovalev versus Canelo or Andrade versus Canelo, which is the tougher fucking fight? Answer me. Y'all don't want to answer my questions. Charlo versus Canelo, is it tougher than Kovalev or not? Answer the question. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says level of competition is everything. I agree. You have to look at that. The old schoolers would tell you that. People in boxing would tell you that. I'm not telling you something that I made up yesterday. This is something that people in boxing will tell you. That's the equalizer. Because you can talk about this guy going up through all these different weight classes, and another guy, he's stuck in one weight class. But the question is, if the guy's stuck in one weight class, but he's facing really great competition, right? Guys who will later become Hall of Famers, and the other guy jumped up all these weight classes, like Leo Santa Cruz. He jumping up weight classes and picking up belts and picking up titles, right? Gervonta Davis about to pick up another fucking belt, right? He about to pick up a paper champion belt, right? But you got to ask yourself, Jesus Cuellar coming up from featherweight to face him, was that a better win than, let's say, Gennady Golovkin's win over Danny Jacobs? Right? So my point is, you have to look at the level of fucking competition. You have to. This is common sense. All right? This is what boxing is built on. I'm not saying that belts don't have significance, but it don't have the level of significance as the people who the belts represent, who are the champions, or who are the people that done a lot in boxing. And sometimes the people who really give you the credit, they're not even the champions. And I can go through several instances in history where that happened. And people got cred because they faced this dude. They said he was the most avoided guy. Ernie Schaefer's. Muhammad Ali got credit for facing Ernie Schaefer. So did Larry Holmes. Okay? It's Ernie Schaefer's. He never won a title. Well, we talk about him. We talk about Ken Norton all the time. He never won a title. He's the guy that beat Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali wasn't a world champion. How many times do I have to explain this to you people? Right? So it's not that belts don't have significance. That's not it. We're not saying no, of course. If a guy was a world champion multiple times and all of that, that's great. But we're saying is, if you just focus on the belts as the most significant thing in boxing, then you'll go after the belts. You won't study the people who you need to face. You could make today, especially in today's world, you can get belts. Especially with this franchise champion bullshit, you could get belts and navigate to get the least toughest competition out there. And you become a long-reigning champion, and like Gennady Golovkin, they say he's short Hall of Famer, right? He's supposed to be a short Hall of Famer. But what really makes him get some kind of cred about Hall of Fame is because he beat Danny Jacobs. Barely. That's his cred. They say he beat Canelo. That's his cred. Canelo is a 154-pounder moving up. That's his cred. Think about what I'm saying. Not saying that that's wrong because it's Canelo we're talking about, right? It's Canelo, right? So yeah, okay, it's Canelo. He beat Canelo. That's what they want to say, right? So my point being, like when I was talking about Terence Crawford, it's undisputed. The thing that makes it undisputed something that's worth talking about, Victor Postol. He ain't the biggest name out there. He ain't got no big reputation. He ain't beat no real top level, A-level fighters, but he was a good fighter. And he managed to get the WBC title. He didn't have no punching power, but he was a good fighter. And he get the knockout when he needed to. So you got to give Terence Crawford credit. His undisputed hangs on Victor Postol. I talked about Usyk. And that his cred falls on Mairis Briedis. The reputation of Mairis Briedis. The skills of Mairis Briedis. The smarts of Mairis Briedis. And it was a tough fight for him too. Right? You see what I'm saying? If we're going to evaluate getting these guys into the Boxing Hall of Fame, we got a list of people, right? Tomorrow we got to get them in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Gervonta Davis. We're talking all the current guys. Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, Vasily Lomachenko, Terence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, who else we got? Usyk, Niall Inu, Nonito Donaire, Miguel Berchelt, Shakur Stevenson, Terence Crawford. If we got to get these guys tomorrow into the Boxing Hall of Fame, what will differentiate them? You see what I'm saying? It'll be resume. Manny Pacquiao, right? Why do we say that Manny Pacquiao is a short ballot Hall of Famer? Is it because of how many belts he got in how many divisions? Because that's what they say. 8th division world champion. That's cool. That's not the reason. It definitely ain't the sole reason. Why? He beat Oscar De La Hoya. He beat Miguel Cotto. Huh? Yeah? He beat Antonio Margarito. He came all the way up from flyweight. Beat Shatai Sasuke. Beat this guy. Beat that guy. Yes, they were world champions. But the point is, he beat the feared Antonio Margarito, who everybody thought was going to kill him. He beat Oscar De La Hoya, who they thought was going to kill him. He beat Shane Mosley, bigger dude, was supposed to walk him down. Dropped him. He beat Mika Cotto. Mika Cotto, bad motherfucker. In fact, Floyd Mayweather and all these guys, they said, oh shit, he beat Mika Cotto. He must be taking something. That's what made his legacy. Marco Antonio Barrera, they didn't fight for a belt. He beat Marco Antonio Barrera. Then he went and beat Eric Morales after Eric Morales beat him. These are the names. We talk about the names. That's what's going to get him in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Yeah. 8 divisional world champion, they call him. It's not true, it's inaccurate, but 6 divisional world champion. Plus 2 divisional lineal champion. But the point is, not 2 divisional lineal champion, you know what I mean. Plus 2 divisional lineal champion. But the point is, yes, that is true. But it wouldn't mean shit if he didn't beat lineal champions. It wouldn't mean shit if he didn't beat guys who have built themselves and become names. Right? So, yes, belts matter. But it's the names of people that gets you into the Boxing Hall of Fame. There are lots of guys who have belts and got belts, but are not in the Boxing Hall of Fame. And there are many undisputed champions in history who have not made it into the Boxing Hall of Fame. Many. There are more that are in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Okay? Many. Right? So that's why I say this. Yes, that's why Manny Pacquiao will have a great legacy. Correct, Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson. He fought straight up top level dudes. He may not be pound for pound with Floyd, but it's levels. Exactly. Mr. Pigeon, Oliver McCall, Cracker Dick. I met him, brought up in a brothel. A lovely man, great resume. He was a champ maybe twice at heavyweight, but he fought great guys and lost, yes, but still legacy, he got it. Exactly. Max Schmeling fights were title fights. I don't think the first Max Schmeling fight was a title fight, or the second one, I can't remember which one. One of them was not. Raul Ramirez says, Demetrius is the biggest challenge of them all. Yeah. Maybe. I hope he don't mess it up for us, but yep. He looks like the toughest guy for Canelo at present. I mean, you also got Artur Beterbiev at 175. I mean, he don't box as good as Demetrius Andre, but he could be a challenge just based on his size and physicality. You know, and strength. He'd be a challenge too. Yeah, but Demetrius Andre is probably the next best challenge out there, yeah. I mean, you got Billy Joe Saunders too, but he didn't show too good, and Callum Smith didn't show too good. Even though I heard Callum Smith calling out Canelo, yeah. Raul Ramirez says, but who doesn't want Canelo on their resume? Exactly. My point. Mr. Pigeon said, Ken Norton never won a title or Shavers, but they're goats. That's what I'm saying. Mr. Pigeon says, what you need, who's your favorite fighters of all time? Resume or belts, but who you rate? I was talking about my favorite fighters, not of all time necessarily, but there's a guy called El Nato from Panama. I like him. I love black chocolate. I'm not talking about Peter Quillen. I'm talking about the black chocolate. I'm a fan of him. Of course, we got the usual resume of Mike McCallum, Pernell Whitaker, Ezra Charles. I like Ezra Charles as well. Floyd Mayweather, of course. We got I like smart fighters. Very, very smart fighter. So I like smart fighters. Mike McCallum, did I mention Mike McCallum? I like Mike McCallum, of course. It's one of my favorites. Mike McCallum's one of my favorites, actually. He lost some fights, but I like him a lot. More than James Toney. And I like James Toney, but I like Mike McCallum more. All the subtleties and little tricks of the trade and those guys, I like them. There's another guy I like a lot, but he's from earlier times. I was watching some footage of him, and you guys don't know his name at all, but I forgot him. I was watching him recently. I forgot his name, though, but I like him, too. He just became one of my favorite fighters. So, a lot of really, really... the problem with some of these really, really great fighters who never really got the resumes is because they were never really acknowledged or noticed, or they just couldn't get the fights. So there's a lot of fighters out there that really could have been, really up there with the all-time greats, just couldn't get the opportunities to really. And that's why I keep on telling you guys, you can't just look at belts, right? Because if you want to rate a guy throughout history, throughout all time, a perfect example, Sam Langford, right? He never got to fight for an official. I think he did. No, he faced Joe Gans, but it wasn't for a title fight. It wasn't a title fight, right? And these are the kinds of things that happen. Sometimes you beat the guy who is the undisputed champion, but you don't get the credit for it. Take, for example, Jesus, De Jesus, who beat Roberto Duran. It wasn't a championship fight, but he beat Roberto Duran, the undisputed champion. Get what I'm saying? Technicality. He beat him, though. See what I'm saying? So, shouldn't he be undisputed? And we have this over and over. We got guys throughout history who got beaten outside of their championship fights. They fought the guys at a little bit over the weight class. We've seen it with Willie Pep. We've seen it with all of them. Sugar Ray Robinson, all these guys, right? They get beat outside of the championship fight. Then they go down in weight because they can't. They fight at a weight class above and then they come back down in weight, right? And we saw it with Moses. Moses was doing that too. And I'm just saying, these are the things that you got to factor in. Sometimes these guys lost fights and they got draws. All right, throughout history, you have to factor this shit in. That's why I always tell people you got to watch the fights too. If you really truly want to assess the fighters and see where they really stack throughout history, because one of the things is sometimes you get an official verdict. They say this guy lost this fight. He didn't lose the fight. He didn't lose the fight. Either the fight was competitive or he actually was winning the fight. So sometimes that's why I keep on saying, yeah, level of competition is one thing. How you perform against that competition is another thing. But the point is, when you're looking through history, because we have a history now, we have time now where we have 4 belts. So being undisputed is totally different to back in the day when you just beat one guy and that was it. Or 2 guys and that was it. All right? Or the sanctioning body, whether it's NYSAC or NBA, would just upgrade you to undisputed. They'd be like, all right, take my belt. That shit actually used to happen. Where sometimes they didn't recommend it, so the NBA be like, nah, that's not a championship fight as far as we're concerned. And they just pull out. And shit just suddenly didn't become undisputed. This is shit that actually happened in history, okay? So it's like, the politics of it is what makes it not pure. And as a result of that, where it was supposed to be just one champion, I just beat that guy and that's it. I'm the dude, right? It was supposed to be that. But there's so many other things that happen which didn't make it that. And then when you got to compare through time, things change so much. Undisputed is now 4 belts. You got to get to be undisputed. That's a fucking a lot more belts than you need to get, right? So we got to find another way to find the man of the division. So they said lineal champion. Okay, the lineal championship don't follow the same pattern. Sometimes you got to wait for number 1 to face number 2. That could take forever. It could take decades. Okay, and then when you finally get the number 1 facing number 2 and you get the lineal champion, then that fucking lineal champion don't want to face the other dude. A guy that's challenging him, who has a belt. And because sanctioning bodies can't mandate a guy with a 1 belt facing another guy with another belt, those motherfuckers can duck each other. So it's that kind of crap that we have to deal with nowadays. It's changed. The world has changed from what it used to be. So how do we level the playing field? Competition. If you ducking people, then you didn't face the competition. Competition makes it. so that you can equalize the playing field. Regardless if this guy goes through 4, 5, 6 different weight classes, you still factor it in. You still factor in that they have belts and shit. You must factor that stuff in. How many times they become world champion and stuff. Those are accolades and things you got to factor in. But at the end of the day, since we deal with people over time, laws and stuff changing, many different weight classes changed. Then we may have one person at heavyweight, that's all they was at heavyweight their whole career, while somebody else might have been at, go through several different weight classes. How do we equalize the playing field to make sense? The only way is by looking at the level of competition. It's the only way. How do you assess this level of competition is another question. But at the end of the day, that's what you have to do. And on top of that, you have to look at the fights, all of them, to properly assess a fighter, because sometimes the fighter actually won the fight, but they don't get the decision. And we see through history, a lot of that happened. A lot of that happened. We even see it in the papers where fighters actually won the fight. One fighter actually won the fight, and then the papers come out and say it was a draw. And they agreed to have it as a draw. Shit like that used to happen back in the day. All of this kind of stuff used to happen. So you have to factor in what was really going on. That's the only way you can properly assess. And especially if you're talking about greatness or you're talking about getting into the Boxing Hall of Fame, then you've got to look at those things. You have to look at something that stays constant throughout all the other things that are fluctuating. And one of the things that always stay constant is level of competition. How you performed against them. But the only way you could truly know how a fighter performs against them is by seeing it with your own two eyes. You get to see, not somebody telling you, you get to see in the ring how this person actually did. And you could go with the official scoring, but at the end of the day, you still need to see with your two eyes. Because that's what boxing is. It's a sport you have to see. If you're a spectator of the sport, you have to see it, right? You have to see the fights. You can listen to be reported in the newspapers and shit, but it's better if you see it. Because now you can form your own opinion. Not what somebody else tells you. And then you can also confirm or contrast confirm or deny your opinion based on what you see. You can say, oh, look, this is what I saw in the fight. This round and this round, and you have your own scorecard. This round, I scored for this guy because this guy did this here and this guy did this here. You actually have reasons for what you're doing. But if you're just going by what somebody else say, oh yeah, well, I thought that this guy won, and the paper said that they won the fight. Okay, fine, you can do that too. It's just that it may not always be true, right? I'm not saying that what you see with your own two eyes may not be true, but you be confirmed for yourself what you see with your own two eyes. This is why we try to teach people here how to score fights. So you can look at it with your own two eyes and be the judge of it. And not have somebody else have to tell you how this fight went. So you can disagree with people and be convinced about your opinion. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, Alamo McCall in real life is an amazing guy. I mean, cool, man. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, you could even argue Shannon Briggs had a great resume. Sounds strange. He does, though. I mean, he does have a pretty good resume. He faced Foreman. He actually won his title off of Foreman, but we dispute that. Some people think that Foreman beat him. And then he fought Vitaly Klitschko. He lasted 12 rounds. He took a beating. He faced other guys. I can't remember the other guys, but I remember those two. Those are the two big names I remember. I'm sure he faced other guys. He's a decent boxer, too. Come from the same place as Mike Tyson. Schmeling was a Nazi. I got no time for that chat. Sorry. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, they all stayed away from the body snatcher, Mike McCallum. Yeah. Mike McCallum. Good point. he became world champion and stuff, but you know, the guys who were supposedly the best never faced him. Right after he knocked out Donald Curry, they didn't want to know, but Emmanuel Stewart didn't want him nowhere near Tommy Hearns. According to Mike McCallum. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says Muhammad Ali fought 4 times a year globally. The man was amazing. Yeah, that's crazy. Not everybody was top tier though. Raul Ramirez says, what are the differences between Mayweather and Tony's shoulder roll? I mean, Tony rolled both ways, and I think he tucked his chin behind his shoulder sometimes, but not always. He did it different. How he rolled, yeah, he did it different to Mayweather. Mayweather, he tucks it. He do this. Then, you know, he sometimes go here. He also rolled both ways, don't get me wrong. He rolled both ways, but he do it different to James Toney. James Toney stay in the pocket. One thing about James Toney, man, he could lean back on the pocket and he could roll this way and then that way. He'd stay right in the pocket then and lean and roll and counter as he's rolling. So it was beautiful. So he mostly used the roll up close, either mid-range or inside. He was slick with it too. So he would lean back and then come back with something one way, and then lean back, come back with something the other way, and so on. And he'd pivot, shift his weight, inside pivots and shit like that. Catch you on the weak side and that kind of stuff. But he did it in continuous motion. Very fluid with it. Very fluid. Mayweather had better foot movement than James Toney. He respect distance much better. James Toney didn't. That's his downfall. He didn't respect distance as much, so he would get caught with jabs and shit, leaping left hooks and stuff like that. Floyd could flip quicker out of the shoulder roll. Toney stayed in the ropes too long. That's another thing. James Toney, Floyd has several other guards. James Toney mostly relied on the Michigan defense because he's mostly fighting on the inside. Demetrius is the generic version of Pernell. Yes. I agree. You can tell these guys watch Pernell Whitaker. He's not exactly like a Zab Judah, but he's athletic. And he doesn't fight like Pernell Whitaker, though. Pernell Whitaker go in a circle all the time and jabbing you in the circle, and he had interesting footwork. Demetrius Andre is a different fighter altogether. He's more of a athletic fighter. You know, uses levels and range and uses his jab and uses his hands, his left hand. Sets up shots where he can, uses pivot work, you know. Uses his quickness as well, his speed. Buddy McGirt, the Philly shell. Floyd's version was more Midwest. Yeah. Buddy was good, man. Buddy was good. He just wasn't as well conditioned. So he lost to Mildred Taylor. Mildred Taylor was just too strong, overpowered him. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson. Floyd had a Leonard-type Philly shell. But Grand Rapids is that side of USA, Detroit, Crunk, etc. No, he didn't really have a Leonard. Leonard had a more wide stance. Leonard's stance is kind of wide. Floyd's is more side on. Which reminded me, Kovalov was talking about that, how because he was in a side on stance, it was kind of a little bit harder to throw the lead right as he wanted to, because he had to keep his defense a little bit more, and his body was going to be harder to hit because it was a lot more side on. So he's talking about he didn't throw the right as much. Interesting fact, Sugar Ray Leonard trained in the early days at Crunk in Detroit. That makes sense. You know, he's from D.C., Baltimore area. I think he's from Baltimore. Same place with Javante. Them guys from D.C. could fight, man. DeMarcus Corley, Joe Gans, Sugar Ray Leonard, etc. Some of the best fighters come out of the Crunk gym. Yeah, for sure. But I think that Sugar Ray Leonard could have fought. He could have fought. He could fight. He was from D.C., Washington, D.C. area, Baltimore, and Leonard could fight. That's just what it is. He could fight. Corley was great. Yep. Marcus Corley could fight too. Got a big left hook. He catch you with that left hook, man, you'll be seeing some stars. Got a big left hook. When Floyd was scrapping him, Obakar is another one. Yeah, that's bad. See, Obakar wasn't a world champion, but he was a bad name. He beat some. He beat some dudes. You know what I'm saying? There you go. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says many UK fighters spent apprentices at Kronk. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, the notorious Kronk gym, baby. So I'm gonna call it a day there. James Toney spent time at the Kronk gym as well. She's a product of the Kronk gym as well. Churned out a lot of great fighters. Eubank Jr. beats Korobov. Then Charlo, yes sir. I rate Eubanks Jr. He all right. This is mostly activity fighter though. Throw a lot of punches. Could overwhelm you with that, but if you know how to box, could beat him. I thought that Porky, James DeGale, I thought he beat him, but they didn't give him decision. I guess his little shoulders giving him problems. Anyway, guys, I gotta get out of here and get something to eat. I haven't eaten lunch yet, and it's very late in the afternoon. Korobov beats Eubank. Possibly. Who knows? I mean, we gotta see. But Eubank, he throws a lot of punches. He throws a lot of punches. Francois Botha gave Tyson problems before he got stretched. That's true. That's true. That is very true. I think Eubank stops Korobov. It's possible. I mean, he could overwhelm him with a lot of punches. Korobov has been stopped before, so it's possible. It's possible. I haven't heard anything about Andy Lee since Billy Joe Saunders beat him. Hey, he faced Peter Quillen, and they got a draw. After that, I haven't heard anything about Andy Lee, so I don't know what he's doing. But that's also another interesting guy. Troy Ingram, shout out to you, brother. Don't forget to smash the like button. What are your opinion on Wilder? Again, just got here. Oh, they were talking about, you know, if he's the best heavyweight right now out there, and I just don't think so. That's just my personal opinion. You don't have to agree with it. And mainly because he just did a rematch he didn't even need to do. He had knocked out the guy the first time. So I don't think that because he knocked out the same guy that he knocked out before, that he should be ranked higher because of that. But people are applauding him like he's the great next second coming or something. I mean, I like it for the marketing aspect, you know, going into the Tyson Fury fight, but I can't say he's number one. I still think Fury's number one, but nonetheless, it doesn't really matter because he's going to be facing Tyson Fury next. So we're going to get to know who's number one very soon. Raul Ramirez says, peace. Looking forward to other vids. No problem, man. I'm trying to get the editing software so I can just show you guys stuff instead of having to talk this stuff. You know, the only thing with me is you'll realize sometimes I lose my patience with you guys. I'm sorry about it. I apologize. Sometimes I really, you know, just really cuss you guys out. But it's just that sometimes it really annoys me that I'm telling you guys the truth. I'm like not trying to lie or anything. I'm really trying to tell you guys what people in the business are. But just because it's me, you guys are looking at me like it's my opinion or I love somebody or I hate somebody. And I'm literally talking from a perspective of boxing. Okay? I'm talking from a boxing perspective. You know, I'm not trying to belittle anybody. It's just a lot of people don't understand fucking boxing. I realize this now. So even when you say something, it sounds outrageous to them. And it's like people in boxing, they be looking at it like, he ain't saying nothing that make no, he's right. You know, people in boxing would look at me like, yeah, he didn't say anything outrageous. It might sound outrageous to you, but it's not outrageous. It's not outrageous. You know, and I realize boxing is very counterintuitive. The fans don't really understand it like that. And yeah, I've been in a couple scraps of late. Couple scraps, you know, no, nothing official or nothing. I've just been doing a little something. And I'll tell you, boxing's hard to start with. And the second thing about it is, again, when you're doing it, you realize just how it's just different to what you thought it was. Okay? If you're doing it right, that is. Andy Lee's retired. Oh, Andy Lee, PBC now commentator. I think I could be wrong. Okay. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, I miss Roy Jones on HBO. Yeah, Roy's a very politically correct guy. He don't try to offend nobody. Troy Ingram says, I felt the same way. About who? About what? I get the same frustration with you, what you need. You get, oh, okay, cool. Joe 5694 says, Dan Raphael of ESPN said in an interview that AJ was talking with George Foreman for the rematch pointers. Okay, cool. Always good. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, with you, things that make you angry. I mean, I get you. I got you, man. I got you. I mean, here's what it is. I mean, you can't really change people's opinions on things. I think fans will always have a certain perspective of boxing because they didn't ever box. And they hardly ever box, or they ever box on a high level or anything. So I get it. It's a disconnect, and you try to share with them something. You know, Showbiz the Adult's doing a good job of that right now. You know, I personally think a lot of things might be my opinion. I try to separate it from what is truth. You know, and if I'm wrong about something, I try to tell you if I'm wrong about it. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson said, oh, sorry, my bad. I do not understand the fanboys. It angers me. I know, like, I mean, I ain't mad at fanboys, but it's one thing when you just degrading something you don't understand. Like, I listen to people talk down on certain fighters. They be clowning certain fighters. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't clown these guys. These guys accomplished a lot. And then the guys who didn't do shit, like, they ain't do shit, right? For whatever, they praising these guys, and usually they're going along with the media. They're praising these guys, and I'm looking at it in awe. Like, what are you talking about? These guys ain't done nothing of late. They did something way back when, but they haven't done nothing of late. And it's like the people just go with the Kool-Aid. They go with the prevailing sentiment. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Can't you? And it's like, it doesn't make no sense, because it's like you talking boxing and you're like. And you give reason after reason after reason, point after point after point, right? And these motherfuckers won't acknowledge you, obviously, because it's you. Who the fuck are you, right? But at the end of the day, you give point after point, unless you show these motherfuckers, and even if you show them, like I showed people how Mayweather would beat Thomas Hearns. I showed them. I'm not saying he would, but I'm just saying what Emmanuel Stewart, just because Emmanuel Stewart said that Hearns would knock Floyd Mayweather out. Nobody's ever knocked Floyd Mayweather out. But Emmanuel Stewart said it. Everybody went with it. Right? Because he's this great trainer. But when you think about it, and you think about how Thomas Hearns got beat, and then I showed them in a video how Thomas Hearns would be beaten. I showed it's possible. I'm not saying that it would happen. I'm just showing it's possible. You can't go with what Emmanuel Stewart's saying because he's biased towards this fighter. Okay? Of course he's going to say Thomas Hearns would knock out Floyd. Of course he's going to say that. Because he trained Thomas Hearns. You expect him to say, no, man, Floyd would beat Thomas Hearns. He's not going to say that. He's Hearns' trainer. Come on. Everybody went with that. The great Emmanuel Stewart. And everybody said, well, there's one guy in history that Floyd would get beat by. Look at Sugar Ray McSlender struggling with Thomas Hearns. But once he put up that 2 guard, he didn't struggle. Once he put up that 2 guard and walked to him, he didn't struggle now. And all them guys that put up that 2 guard, they always beat Thomas Hearns. Okay? It's just common sense. I'm talking something that makes sense. Aaron Pryor, right? We saw him beat Thomas Hearns. Styles don't change over time. Thomas Hearns ain't going to be a totally different fighter. He's going to be the same fighter. He has the same style. It's just that he tweaks certain things. Oh, well, he's shooting his punches straighter. But come on, man. And it's those kinds of things. I'm waiting for people to make sense. You're not making sense. Oh, he got more power now. What means what? It means what? He still live off the jab. His major defense, especially at the low weight classes, was the jab. We saw what Canelo do to Kovalev with the jab. And y'all say Kovalev have an exceptional jab. God damn it, man. But you know what the narrative is? Canelo struggles with people with a jab. If he struggles with people with a jab, what's he doing beating them? What's he doing knocking them the fuck out? If he's struggling so much with the jab, this is the stupid thing. The narratives are so stupid. If you just use your brain for a minute. If he's so struggling with the jab, why is he beating these guys? Why are these guys not fighting him? Why are these power punches not knocking him out? If he's struggling with the fucking jab. If Gennady Golovkin hits Canelo with a jab, he gonna knock his head straight off his face. Okay? If Kovalev hit Canelo with a jab, he gonna knock his head straight off his face. If Danny Jacobs hit Canelo with a jab, Canelo gonna get knocked all the way back out of the ring, okay? He ain't that big and strong. He's not getting hit with the jab. Clearly. And he's taking his time and breaking down fighters. Y'all expect him to rush in there like, you know, Jose Napoles versus, what the fuck was his name? Carlos Monzon. And he'd be throwing wholesale punches like a jackass, right? That's what he's supposed to do? No brain whatsoever, just throw flurries? Trying to overwhelm him? You know, Canelo Alvarez, the Mexican fighter, he's supposed to walk him down and just eat punches and throw punches like a Mad Hatter. It's about being strong. How long can I last? You know, or like Amir Khan, just throwing shots all the time. Oh man, I'm popping that jab. Come on. Come on. Like really? Like really? And this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. We were expecting an exciting fight. The Kovalev versus Canelo fight was boring. Have we heard this before? Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather, Pernell Whitaker. How many times we have to hear this shit? Somebody who's strategically working out a way to beat another guy. Technician. But they don't appreciate that shit. Oh, Canelo will be beaten by everybody. That's the stuff I had to deal with. And it's not just Canelo. It's Danny Garcia. Sometimes it's Deontay Wilder. Oh, Deontay Wilder can't box. The dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Then you go in the ring with him then. Oh, but he got a punch. Yeah, but he can't box. So we don't have to worry about that. You could box better than him. So jump in the ring with him then. Mr. Pigeon said Floyd may well beat him. Who knows? That's my point. Like, they don't even give the dude a chance. Oh, he's certainly been beaten knockout by Thomas Hearns. And I'm like, my argument is simple. There's a way to beat Thomas Hearns. We've seen people beat Thomas Hearns. He took a loss. If he's taking a loss, you know what Floyd said. If he's taking a loss, then I could beat him, right? Triple G is the greatest middleweight of all time. He's so good. Yes, he is, man. He's man, listen, man. He's better than Bernard Hopkins. He's better than Carlos Monzon. He's greater than Dick Tiger. He's greater than Emil Griffith. He's greater than Sugar Ray Robinson, for crying out loud. He's greater than Harry Crabb, right? All of those were great middleweights, but they're not great like him. Roy Jones Jr. Eat his dust. Eat his dust. How many 20-something KOs? That sounds familiar, like Deontay Wilder. 20-something KOs. This man belongs in the boxing hall of fame. This man is the greatest boxer of all time. Exactly. He's greater. He's a greater middleweight. For crying out loud. He's a greater middleweight than Carlos. Not Carlos, fuck. The dude who faced Sugar Ray Robinson and beat him after coming up from welterweight. He's great. He's greater than Jake LaMotta. He's greater than what the fuck is his name? I can't remember his name right now. I'm seeing him. He got beat by Dick Tiger, but I can't remember his name for nothing. The guy, he fights like this. Whatever his name is. He beat Sugar Ray Robinson. Somebody smoking weed. Okay, he's greater than those guys. He's the greatest. He's greater than Marvin Hagler. Marvin Hagler. Who is Marvin Hagler? Man, GGG would mop the floor with Marvin Hagler. Marvin Hagler stands no chance against GGG. Too tough. Too strong. For truth, Marvin Hagler gonna have to box Triple G because Triple G is much bigger than him. He might beat the brakes off of Marvin Hagler. I was thinking about it. If Marvin Hagler trying to fight tough, that shit just don't even work with Triple G. I'm telling you, man. Him taking a punch and give it one there. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, GGG can get my farts. I do not rate that guy as an all-timer. He filled a void. Okay. I hear you, man. Joe 56984 says a prime John the Beast Mugabe would walk through Charlo. No. I don't think so. He could take a punch though. He could take a punch, but nah. Remember, Charlo's at middleweight now. Mugabe stepped up into middleweight and got stopped by Marvin Hagler. Hagler's a hell of a lot smaller than Jamal Charlo. Nope. He ain't walking through Charlo. I'm just letting you know. Charlo's big and strong, man. He knocked out a guy. He knocked out the current unified champion, J-Rock. He knocked him out with a jab. No. I don't think so. Not Mugabe. Mugabe was too much of a tough guy. He would get knocked out. I was thinking about it, and I thought, nah, he ain't walking through no Jamal Charlo. Mr. Pigeon, Mike Tyson says, Hearns was a great 67, only 5 losses, was amazing. Yeah. Great fighter, no doubt about it. Went all the way up to cruiserweight. Crazy. From welterweight. From welterweight. That's some good shit right there. No doubt about that. Raul Ramirez says, I could agree with you. I think Floyd could beat Thomas Hearns by close decision. Yeah, close unanimous decision. Because you go to the body, you know, and once you get on the inside, you go to the body, go to work there. It's just about getting to the inside, right? Getting past the jab, the right hand, jab, right hand, or 1-2, the little uppercut, left hook, left uppercut. Getting past that. Pivot work. I mean, being aggressive, pivot work, Aaron Pryor style, keep your guard up, walk to him. You gotta walk him down. Close the distance, get on the inside, go to work. That's what you had to do. And we've seen it, I think it was, we've seen it, how many times we've seen it? One, let me tell you, 1, 2, 3 times. 3 times we saw it against Thomas Hearns. But each of the guys who did it, they only implemented it after they got busted up or outboxed. Then they resorted to it. Troy Ingram, I love your opinion. You are the guy I go for boxing. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Of course, you don't have to go to me. There's much better guys. I always refer to the channels. Eric Bradley, the Fighter Doctor, Master Boxing, Precise Striking. You know, you got a lot of channels out there. They talk boxing in much more detail than I do. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says Roberto Duran would KO Cotto for a joke. Possibly. I mean, he did win against Iron Barkley at middleweight. Cotto's not really a middleweight. Duran was much bigger than Cotto. Might have beaten Cotto at welterweight even. You know, Cotto is more of a super welterweight, but that's possible. I'm not going to say no. It's Duran we're talking about. Cotto had that kind of fight that would lend to a Duran fight that would be good. You know, nobody taking a step back, so it could have turned out that Duran knocked him out. It could be that Cotto stopped Duran. I mean, remember, Duran fought in an era where there was same-day weigh-ins. Not to say that he would not come in heavier when he goes into the ring. Whereas in this era, you could blow up a lot more than the weight that you're in. So, like, for instance, I think Cotto used to come in the 160s at welterweight. And then when he went to super welterweight, same 160s. And then when he went to middleweight, he was still weighing 160s, low 160s, whatever. He was a much smaller guy there. But with Duran went all the way up to light heavyweight. So he was, I think, he weighed 172 or something like that. So Duran was about 170. So it's very possible that Duran could beat Cotto because he would have been the bigger guy, depending on what fight you're dealing with. So he did come up from a lower weight class, but that doesn't mean, you know. I mean, and then Duran was a guy who. It depends. I mean, Duran fought till he was 50, so You know, he started off at 16 and he fought till he was 50. So, I mean, that motherfucker had a lot of fights in him. It's possible he could beat Duran. It's Cotto. If he could catch Cotto with the uppercut, that was the punch that Cotto was mostly susceptible to. Later on in his career, he was less susceptible to. But if you could catch Cotto with the uppercut, I mean, Canelo caught him with a couple uppercuts, and he didn't put him away. So if Canelo didn't put away Cotto's pretty strong. So I don't know if Duran would have been able to really put him out there. It's not easy to really land a whole set of body shots on Cotto either, because of how Cotto leans forward. But you can catch him with the uppercut. But he becomes aware of that, he will make an adjustment. So you'll have like 1 or 2 or 3 tries, and then that's it with Cotto. So, you know, there's other little tricks you might be able to hit him with. You're not really going to catch him with pull counters like that. And even if you do, so what? Duran would have been all up in his grill, but Cotto liked that. Cotto liked to maul you. He liked to damage you with the levers and stuff. And he might have been, maybe Duran would have been the physically bigger guy, maybe Cotto. I don't know. That's a good fight. That's a good fight. Those two styles would have been, I'll tell you, a fantastic fight. I really can't call it. Cotto versus Duran is a good matchup. Maybe Duran prevails. Who knows? That would have been like Duran versus the guy who was heavyweight champion that they didn't think he would have beat. And he dropped his ass. The guy who knocked out Tommy Hearns. Good middleweight fight. Cotto, Iron Barkley. Iron Barkley was not as good a fighter as Cotto. Cotto was a switch hitter. Cotto could go southpaw. So, Cotto is a problem for anybody. Anybody. He gonna make a fight out of everything. So you can make you fight. And I wouldn't be surprised if he backed up Duran. I wouldn't be surprised either. So Cotto and Duran was vociferous and shit, but Cotto's style is mauling. Like he will break your fucking ass down. He's that kind of dude. You know, so I don't know, man. That's a good fight. Cotto versus Duran, that would have been a good fight. Cotto versus Marvin Hagler would have been a good fight. Because Cotto brings it. Cotto will fight you. And his style is so fucking very, very, very physical. He's very physical. Cotto's a very physical dude. He's dirty a little bit, but he's very physical. He dirtier. Marvin Hagler is not that dirty. Cotto's dirty. He'll rub his forearm up in your head, hit you with the elbow in your head, you know, shin you. You know, he do all kinds of shit. Low blow you even. If he's losing the fight, he'll hit you with a low blow and shit. It'll be a good ass fight, man. It'll be a good ass fight. I could see both of them going at each other's nuts, because you know Duran would do the same thing. If you hit Duran in the nuts, he gonna hit you back in the nuts. So I mean, it would have been a good fight. I don't know who would have won. That's a good fight. That's a fight for all time. That would have been a great fight. Mayweather versus Sugar. Be interesting. Which Sugar? Sugar Shane Mosley, Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugars. Which Sugar are you talking about? Sugars is another guy. Robinson knocked out in the first round, but he said if that fight went the distance, he'd have had lots of problems. He had to get him out of there early. Roberto Duran would KO Cotto for a joke. The Mexican crowd wants barn burners from Canelo. I know. Yeah, they want Julio Cesar Chavez versus Arce. I know. They like Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Ron Ramirez says otherwise they won't accept him. And Ron Ramirez says Terence Crawford versus Thomas Hearns. 147. Who wins? Crawford. Crawford's too surgical. He gets Thomas Hearns. That's why I said Floyd would beat Thomas Hearns, but Crawford would beat Thomas Hearns. I think so. You can't be vulnerable to the... Okay, think about this. Keith Thurman's vulnerable to the body, right? We all talk about that. How he's vulnerable to the body. He also, like Thomas Hearns, has a hell of a punch. But you hit him to the body, and he can get crippled, right? Think about this. When you hit Thomas Hearns to the body, that motherfucker withered at welterweight. That's what Sugar Ray Leonard wanted to fight, because he was hitting Thomas Hearns to the body and then coming over the top with the right hand. That's how he got Thomas Hearns. So, I mean, I think Terrence Crawford beats him. I think Floyd beats him too, but I'm just saying they both have a chance of beating Thomas Hearns at welterweight. Was freakishly long, quick. The problem with him was bone dry. That motherfucker was bone dry at welterweight. The man looks skin and bones. You hit him on his body, you know it's gonna hurt. You know, that's the problem. When he filled out at super middleweight, that Thomas Hearns is gonna be a bad motherfucker. But the Thomas Hearns at middleweight even, he was still bone dry. He had more muscle on him, but he still was bone dry. The Thomas Hearns that was real was super middleweight and up, light heavyweight and shit like that. That Thomas Hearns, a different beast altogether. Canelo versus Thomas Hearns at super middle. That'd be a good fight. Very good fight. That Thomas Hearns could do all kinds of shit. He didn't beat Ryan Barkley, but he showed he could fight on the inside. He showed all kind of game. That Thomas Hearns is a problem. That Thomas Hearns was a problem. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson said, I had a drink in the pub in the UK with the ragamuffin Lloyd Honeyghan. Oh, wow. Remember him in the 80s at welter? Yeah, man. He was almost unbeatable. Lloyd Honeyghan, man. Great fighter. Man, you have some history, bro. Trey Ingram says, have you ever been in America before? Yes, sir. I was in the West Coast, California, Portland, Washington, Seattle. Yep. I've been. Raul Ramirez says, Roberto Duran versus Canelo at 160 pounds. Good fight. Good fight. I got Canelo. Wait, hold on. Let me think about it. Yeah, I got Canelo. Yeah, I got Canelo. Good fight, though. I'm feeling these fantasy fights right now. Yeah, there's some good matchups right there. Really are. You're talking about some legends right there. Duran versus Canelo, that would have been a good fight. Been a good fight. You know, that would have been a good fight. Because Duran would want to fight on the inside, so would Canelo. So that would be interesting. Roy Jones Jr. versus Canelo at 168. Woo. That's a good fight now. I don't know. That's a good fight. Roy could do a lot of things on the outside. That's a good fight. I don't know who would win. Mr. Pitcher Mike Tyson says, pre-Tarver or after? Before Tarver, of course. 168. Tarver was 175. So it'd be before Tarver. That's a good fight, though. Very good fight. Very good fight. That's a fight Canelo could lose. Yeah, even though Roy was an outboxer, he used his feet very, very, very well. Canelo had to keep the defense tight, walk to him. Kind of do what Hopkins did. Walk him down. Keep the defense tight. Tony versus Canelo at 168. Now you guys asking some real hard questions. I don't know. James Toney was a magician on the inside. I don't know if Canelo has the tools to box a James Toney and keep on the outside and outbox him. That's what you have to do. So, That's like asking me Canelo versus Mike McCallum. I can't really tell you. I think Mike McCallum take that. I might even think James Toney might take Canelo on that one. James Toney might take Canelo. And Roy might even take Canelo, if I'm being honest. Those guys at 168, you're talking about some really serious dudes right there. I don't know. I can't say. But I would, you know, them guys, you're talking about guys who not only faced superior competition, but also had certain attributes that you just can't train people for. It's called gifting. You know, you just can't train people for that. So I don't know. You know, that's like saying Canelo versus Andre Ward. Who's gonna win? But no brainer, Andre Ward, right? The question is, could he touch Canelo on the ropes? No, but could Canelo touch James Toney? James Toney is equally as good on the ropes. Tony stand right in front of you and you ain't touching him, and he touching you. So I mean, you know, Mike McCallum had good defense as well, and went to the body. I mean, you know, you're talking about guys who actually have defense. Okay, RJJ don't have that kind of defense. He have more range, but he just much more tricky. He's much more tricky. He have special effects and shit. He set you up for traps and shit. You know, it's just a whole different ball game when you're talking about Roy Jones Jr. And he was fast, he was quick, and all of that. So, you know, Canelo, he's good and solid and all that shit. But RJJ, I mean, if he keep his defense tight, like Bernard Hopkins, you know, he could walk RJJ down, right? He could walk him down. He'd have to be real patient, really careful, because RJJ's quick. So, you know, it's tricky. It's tricky talking about RJJ versus Canelo, because RJJ do a whole bunch of things well from distance. Not as easy as it sounds. And Roy Jones Jr. was not no joke. His chin wasn't that great, but he could do a lot of stuff. He could do a lot of stuff. And he was athletic, very, very quick for a guy that big. So that's okay. You know what would give an answer to that? Demetrius Andrade versus Canelo. Demetrius is very fast. He's much more rehearsed than RJJ. RJJ was more, more circus style, more freelance, kind of like James Toney, kind of just improvise on the spot and shit. Throw a lot of combinations and shit. But Canelo has good defense though, so that's why it's a tricky fight to determine. It could come down to RJJ's activity versus Canelo's slow, methodical breakdown. Might come down to that. Might come down to RJJ catching Canelo with shots he didn't see and just beating him up with combinations. It could be that, depending on if Canelo's defense is on point. It will definitely be a test of his defense. And if his defense is tested and it stands strong, he has a good chance of beating RJJ, like how Hopkins did the second time. You know, but that's not an easy fight. RJJ is quick, and he's unorthodox, and he sets traps, right? But once you're able to not get hit by him, and it's not that he's quicker than, say, Amir Khan or even Erislandy Lara, but it's just the way how his rhythm and just the way how he moves on telegraph stuff and that kind of thing. So yeah, he'd give Canelo all the problems in the world, and he possibly could beat him. He possibly beat him. Yeah, for sure. That's like Demetrius Andrade versus Canelo, except on steroids. You know, RJJ was on steroids, like he literally. But then otherwise, also he was just unbelievably freakishly fast. So you know, if Canelo get hit by RJJ, and he loved to throw the big left hooks from down below, so you don't even see the left hook coming. But if Canelo could ride through that storm, then he had a good chance of beating RJJ. But it was quite a storm. James Toney. I mean, you're talking James Toney here, folks. Upper body movement, Mike McCallum. These guys. I mean, they're not easy. They're not easy to beat. They're just not easy because they got defense. James Toney and Mike McCallum have good defense. Great defense. Canelo has great defense himself, but I mean, it would come down to who could land what, when. And Toney could land. Toney's preferred range was on the inside. He lived that was his home. And Canelo don't have it like that. So it's just interesting talking about this stuff. Canelo's more rehearsed. James Toney's very fluid. I could see James Toney beating Canelo. I could see James Toney beating Canelo. I could see Roy Jones Jr. beating Canelo. I see Mike McCallum beating Canelo. Right? Not in such a way that, say, Canelo is like completely outclassed necessarily, like how Floyd did him, but he loses by unanimous decision. Does that answer your question? You know, he still got a lot of growing up to do before he could face those guys, and I could say, oh yeah, Canelo would beat him. Yeah, just another ball game of fighters, in my opinion. The question is, could he touch him on the ropes? I go RJJ. I can understand that. I absolutely could agree with you on that. I could see RJJ beating Canelo, even though Canelo tried to close the distance and stuff. I mean, RJJ was difficult to really try and peg down. He had a lot of tools. So I don't know, man. That's why I want to see Demetrius Andrade versus Canelo. For that reason as well. Rocky Marciano versus Canelo at light heavy. What? I don't know what to make of that one. I don't know what to say about that. Mr. Pigeon, Mike Tyson. Roy goes through dudes and Canelo's small dude. Roy would punch through Canelo. Could be an early night. I don't know if he punched through Canelo, but definitely what he did to James Toney could end up being what he did to Canelo. Make him look stupid. Mr. Pigeon, real fast too. If Canelo's defense is on point, he won't look stupid. But Mr. Pigeon, Mike Tyson, Canelo versus RJJ. My honest opinion, call me mad, goes similar to Vinny Pagano fights. Just a feeling, not based on fact too much. Oh, you mean you use the jab on him? I mean, shit. Sugar Ray Robinson versus Canelo at middleweight. I don't know. It's a good fight too. I mean, Canelo would have the better defense, but Sugar Ray Robinson could do a lot of things. Power would not necessarily be a factor. I think that would be taken away. So what we're really looking at is IQ, smarts in that ring. Ray Robinson had a lot of smarts. Canelo would have to have a defense to deal with Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Robinson did have a problem with people who used the high guard coming to him, but they had to throw a lot of punches. Canelo is a guy who could throw a lot of punches as well. But, I don't know, man. Ray Robinson. Actually, I could see. The thing about Ray Robinson was he was not exactly the biggest middleweight. And Canelo's not exactly. Well, Canelo's a lot bigger than him. Significantly bigger than him. Canelo walked around 170. Was always in the 170 since super welterweight. So Canelo would be the bigger guy. Basically, Sugar Ray Robinson would be Miguel Cotto's size. So Miguel Cotto versus Sugar Ray Robinson is a much more fairer fight than Canelo versus Sugar Ray Robinson, to be honest with you. Because he'd outweigh Robinson by quite a lot. I don't know if that'd be a fair fight. That's like Roy Jones Jr. versus Sugar Ray Robinson. Roy Jones Jr. is just much bigger than Sugar Ray Robinson. I don't know if that'd be a fair fight. Seeing that Canelo's fast, and so is Roy Jones Jr. I mean, Roy Jones Jr. versus Sugar Ray Robinson, hands down, Roy Jones Jr. should win that fight, even though he doesn't have all-around game, right? Like Sugar Ray Robinson does. Canelo versus Sugar Ray Robinson. I mean, Sugar Ray Robinson got some skills. He got some things he does, you know. But he does get hit a little too much. That's not good against Canelo. You don't want to be hit by Canelo like that all the time. I don't know. That's a good. The thing about it is Sugar Ray Robinson didn't do good against guys like Gene Fullmer. Gene Fullmer, he knocked him out once. He drew once, but Gene Fullmer beat him twice. And it's because Gene Fullmer used a form of the eye guard. So I could see Canelo using the eye guard, walking down Sugar Ray Robinson, closing the distance, and starting to beat him up to the body. I don't think he gets him out of there. But you know, it would be he could really beat up Sugar Ray Robinson pretty bad if Sugar Ray Robinson doesn't do certain things. Because Sugar Ray Robinson, he wasn't used to the, like I said before, guys back in the day, they didn't really use a lot of the high guard. That's a relatively new concept. There were guys in the 30s who were using high guard. Sammy Sanders to do something like a high guard, but for the most part, not a lot of people use the high guard. You know, so it's a more recent thing with Mexican fighters and with fighters in general. So that's just something for you to consider, you know. So I think that, and then the other thing is, Robinson didn't really face a lot of southpaws. You know, a Manny Pacquiao versus Sugar Ray Robinson, Pacquiao would give him problems. Would give him problems. At least at welterweight. Paul Williams versus Canelo at middleweight. Canelo. Probably stop Paul Williams. Take too much shots flush. Sergio Martinez knocked his ass out. Canelo's bigger than Sergio Martinez. Go figure. Mr. Pigeon, Mike Tyson. Will we see a return of Andre Ward? Is he still under promoter? That Dan Goossen thing in 2013 was insane. Ward had to fight for everything he got. Nope, he's not under Dan Goossen. 1. 2, he's retired and is going to stay retired. Probably never see him come back. His career is over when it comes to boxing. Roy Ramirez says Roy might be faster than Canelo. Of course. Yeah, he's way faster than Canelo. More explosive, much faster, all kind of things. Roy was doping in the U.S. Canelo avoided that for many years. I so don't trust Canelo. Well, yeah, what can I say about that? Roller Polar Bear. What is Wilder's weakness? Wilder? His weakness is counterpunching. He gets caught with counterpunches. He has okay defense, but he gets caught a little too much with counterpunches especially. Mr. Pigeon, Mike Tyson. Did De La Hoya ever pop dirty? Not that I know, not to my knowledge. Roy Ramirez. He could beat Canelo in a similar fashion like he did James Toney. I think so. I think so. I mean, Canelo is quick on his feet and stuff, but I think he can make Canelo look really dumb, really stupid. Roy was fast. Mr. Pigeon, Mike Tyson. I agree. Maybe even a KO. I'm not too sure what that's about. Mike McCallum versus Floyd Mayweather. Shit. Now you're talking a real fight there. Oh, what weight? 154? That's a tough fight. That's a tough fight. That's a tough fight. That's a guy that could beat Floyd Mayweather. At 154, he could beat Floyd Mayweather. Trust me, he could beat him. Because he's going to go to the body. And you know, if you go to the body, the head will fall. And he got good defense. That's... Mike McCallum wasn't no joke, people. All right? It wasn't no joke. So, that's all I got to say about that. At 154, I don't know, man. I think I favor Mike McCallum at 154. At least he wins out of 3 fights. I think he wins at least 1. I said at least. I don't know. Floyd would have to make some adjustments. He might have to fight him outside. He might have to outbox him. Fight him on the outside. Don't let him come into range at all. No mid-range fighting. No inside fighting. And I don't know how he's doing that because Mike McCallum had a decent jab as well. And he liked to counter the jab. So I don't know how that was going to work out. That's a good fight. That's a good fight. That's another guy that could possibly beat Floyd Mayweather. And good defense. Floyd is not going to just hit Mike McCallum just like that. Mr. Pigeon, Mike Tyson. I think James Prince is Ward's guy, still manager. Yeah, he used to be. I don't know if he still is, but Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, Raw, that's a good spot. Mike versus Floyd. Oh man, that's gonna be a tough fight. That'd be one of Floyd's toughest fights ever. I can tell you that. Mike was no joke. I'm just saying. That would be a tough fight. Hands down. Maybe after his career over, we can start discussing these fantasy fights. Who's that? Whose career is that? Canelo? Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, you need to be clever and intelligent versus Canelo. Yeah, you gotta you gotta be. Roller Polar Bear. B-Hop versus Sugar Ray Robinson at middle. B-Hop. Hands down, B-Hop wins that. B-Hop wins that all day long. He could be all up in Sugar Ray Robinson's grill on the inside, roughing him up, throwing him down, all kinds of shit. You know B-Hop dirty as fuck. Putting them. Sugar Ray Robinson would have a hard time with B-Hop. I can tell you that. He had a hard time with Andre Ward. B-Hop, but Andre Ward was 168 pounder anyway. Mike McCallum would have given him the fits. Roy Jones Jr. would have outboxed him, probably even dropped him. And he was fast. Sugar Ray Robinson was fast. Inspiration for Roy Jones Jr. But the thing about it is, you see, the credit to Sugar Ray Robinson was not for Sugar Ray Robinson, we wouldn't have these fighters that I'm talking about. Sugar Ray Leonard would have outboxed him. Sugar Ray Leonard would have outboxed Sugar Ray Robinson. But he's supposed to. That's what he grew up watching. Sugar Ray Robinson. If you grew up watching a guy, idolizing a guy, Jeff Horn, idolized Pacquiao, watched him, studied him. That's why Jeff Horn could beat Manny Pacquiao. Okay? He can't beat nobody else, but he could beat Manny Pacquiao, right? When you idolize somebody, you're watching them all the time. You got some of the skills and abilities. You built your foundation off of these guys. You're going to be better than them, right? Not to mention, Mike McCallum was trained by Georgie Benton. For crying out loud. Good God, Georgie Benton versus Floyd. That would have been a tough-ass fight, too. You know what I mean? There's certain fights that are just tough. Benny Briscoe versus Floyd Mayweather. Good God almighty. Ralph Tiger Jones versus Floyd. I'm just telling you the guys who... Charlie Burley versus Floyd. These are tough fights, okay? Charlie Burley, I mean, these guys, you know, from the 40s, 30s, whatever. But the thing about it is, I mean, you probably get beat, but my point is, the guys brought a lot more to the table. They brought defense to the table. And when you got a guy that brings defense to the table, he's not easy to hit. That's where Floyd would have problems. Because his whole thing is, you can't hit me, but I can hit you. That's how he wins. Right? So to equalize the playing field, if I can't hit you like I want to, Emmanuel Burton couldn't catch him flush. All he tried. Frustrating fight. Imagine dealing with a guy like Ralph Tiger Jones, or a guy like I just said, or fucking Ezra Childs, for crying out loud, or Archie Moore, for crying out loud, or Archie Moore didn't have. He had great defense, but he's susceptible to the uppercut. So Floyd would catch him with the uppercut, just like he would with what's his name? Now it's kind of like a shoulder roll defense where they roll the up. See they do that. But nonetheless, the point is that turtle defense, you know, or turtle shell, that shit is susceptible to uppercuts. Okay. Nonetheless, especially to the body. Nonetheless, the point is, you know, you think about the different fighters who present problems because they're not getting hit as much. Once you're not getting hit as much, you're a problem. Emil Griffith knew how to time his jab. He really did everything off the jab, to be honest with you, but he could also fight on the inside. But he set everything up off the jab. He probably would get beat by Floyd. But the point is that when you got good defense, right, that's where the problem lies. Of course, if you got freakish speed or something like that, and you knew how you can do many. It takes a while for the opponent to adjust to you. So the point is, when you're boxing, you don't want to be predictable, right? That's the whole point behind the whole thing. So if you're unpredictable a bit, whether it's because you're unorthodox, or like Roy, or you're somebody who, you know, got good defense, it's not easy to hit you or whatever, then that brings something to the table to make a smart fighter have to make an adjustment to you. right? So the idea is if you can make them adjust enough, you could steal the fight because they are adjusting to you all the time. You're changing up the game all the time, and that's the whole point behind boxing. That's the beauty of at the highest level boxing. That's how you get a win. And there are guys out there that I think would have given Floyd problems and possibly beaten Floyd at least one out of 3 times. It might be that they take 2 out of 3, or they may take all 3. You know, those are guys I think that could beat Floyd. It's guys with defense. Yes, they have to be smart fighters, fundamentally sound, etc. But defense, most important. They got defense. McCallum used to work the body. That's his thing. So he would have been working Floyd's body relentlessly. And Floyd would have had to make an adjustment to that. And make an adjustment to the fact that he's not landing like he wants to land on Mike McCallum. He's blocking most of the punches. So that's, you know, that's a tough fucking fight right there. Yeah, I got B up too, Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson. I got B up beating Sugar Ray Robinson. Definitely. He's too much big. He's a lot bigger fighter too. Raul Ramirez says it takes a special fighter to beat another special fighter. Exactly. Absolutely. I agree. But in the case of like guys like Floyd and McCallum and, you know, McCallum versus James Toney. You guys ever watch that? I had McCallum winning the first fight against James Toney. Now, if he could beat James Toney, guess what? He probably could give Floyd the fits. For certain. Time boxing, pound for pound, the best. You don't think Wilder is the best heavyweight? No, not right now. But everything will be sorted out very soon. He's going to be facing Tyson Fury very soon. So that'll be sorted out. It doesn't matter what my opinion is now. We'll know the truth very soon in the ring. Roller Polar Bear says Dan Goossen versus Canelo. I like Heavy. Yeah, that's funny. Roller Polar Bear says, would Wilder have problems with a 6'4" Pacquiao? Yeah. Unpredictable. Definitely. Floyd versus Aaron Pryor. That was a great fight. That's a great fight. Aaron will bring it. Aaron reminded me a little bit of Sean Porter. So Floyd versus Aaron Pryor would be like Floyd versus Sean Porter. Say Sean Porter's a lot more aggressive but less accurate. So think of it. Sean Porter versus Floyd. Who do you think will win? Floyd versus Aaron Pryor. Who do you think will win? It's that kind of fight. Even if Floyd ekes it out, it's going to be a tough fight for him. Because Aaron could take a punch and he keep coming. And he knew how to box. And he was a little bit unorthodox. Aaron Pryor is something like Pacquiao. Would Floyd be able to beat him easy? Not so easy. Not as easy as he beat Pacquiao. And Aaron would catch him. Would he hurt him enough to stop him? I don't know. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, those Jamaicans run UK sport here. They run Olympics boxers. I favor McCallum at 154 versus Mayweather. Those genes of Mike and fast brain. You have to remember, Jamaicans are clever too. Shit, I'm telling you, man. Mike McCallum was not no joke. And systematic, and he was trained by the best. Raul Ramirez says, Floyd versus Terry Norris. Floyd. Mr. Pigeon, Mike Tyson. Floyd was a pot shotter. Yes, he was a pot shotter. That's for sure. Not pop shotter, but whatever. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, your fantasy matchups are amazing. Yeah, man, for sure. He really loved boxing. Raul Ramirez says, Evander Holyfield versus Joe Louis. Evander Holyfield all day, every week. Beats Joe Louis. Hey, let me think about it. Yes. He can take a punch and shit. Yeah, Joe wasn't putting Evander Holyfield down. Too mentally strong and all that shit. You know, Joe was kind of textbook, man. Oh, he pivoted and throw those shots. I don't know, man. That's a good question. Evander being all up on him, though. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I want to think about that a little bit. But I think Evander would beat Joe Louis. The thing about it is, right? Joe Louis and those heavyweights back then, they were like light heavyweights today. And Evander was a fucking cruiserweight. Go figure. Could a 25-year-old Augustus beat Floyd? Yeah. You mean Emmanuel Augustus? Yeah. Shit, it's a good thing he faced him when he was old. That was the drunken master. Of course. Do you see how much fits he gave Floyd? He just got a bad shake in life. You know, promoters never really pushed him, but he could do some shit, man. He could roll punches like crazy. Right punches and all that shit. Charlie Burley versus B-Hop at middleweight. fight. I think I got Burley, but I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. Burley used that jab pretty well. He had a lot of tricks up his sleeve. I don't know. That's a tough fight. I don't know. Y'all making my brain. I should know this. Be up. He get caught by certain guys though. Burley got that jab. Be up and want to fight dirty, but be up. Burley could slip jabs and he could get on the inside and all that shit, and he could also throw a good jab. He set traps really well. Ooh, I think Burley edges it. I think Burley edges it. Is Nicholas Walters still a contender? I guess he is. Joe was the better boxer, and so clinical and so economical with his movement that I don't know, man. Is Nick Walters still a contender? Holyfield got moves on Joe. He bigger than Joe. Joe didn't end up 200 and something, but I think Holyfield's a bigger dude. He started off with cruiserweight, so Holyfield's strong too. I don't know, man. I don't think Joe could handle Holyfield. Holyfield's strong, physically strong. But Joe was technically sound and economical, boy. That man didn't waste a punch or a foot movement. He was very economical with his movement. Roller Polar Bear said, is Loma running from Javante? Looking so. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says, Bear could be. It looks like he's running from Javante. He's making these stupid ass excuses. Sound like Canelo running from Demetrius Andrade and Charlo. Hey, he is running. Mike Tyson versus Joe Frazier. Tyson. I thought you guys would have said Tyson versus Foreman. Mike Tyson, my friend, KO'd Marvin Frazier in round 1 in 131 seconds. In Daddy, Frazier would last maybe to round 4. Yeah. Roller Polar Bear, if Emmanuel Augustus came out today, he'd be famous. Yeah. Sadly. He just didn't have a good break. Raul Ramirez says Holyfield would overpower Joe Louis after getting outboxed. Yeah. That's the thing. I don't know if Joe had enough heat on him. I know he could knock out guys, but the guys he knocked out, they weren't Evander Holyfield. Let's just put it that way. Evander Holyfield could take a fucking punch. Riddick Bowe was teeing off on his ass, and that motherfucker would not go down. So Joe would have his hands full. Let's just put it that way. Lewis was only 180 pounds. That's what I'm saying. Holyfield's bigger. I got Holyfield by knockout, by stoppage. Too big, too strong, and too athletic. In Joe's day, cruiserweight was heavyweight. Cruiserweight? Yeah, pretty much. Joe was small. It would be murder. I think Holyfield would beat him up. Now, Holyfield had a mindset of a beast. And it's kind of like Mildred Taylor versus Buddy McGirt. Buddy McGirt is the better fighter. Mildred Taylor just stronger. Ray Leonard in the 1980s versus Oscar De La Hoya. Great fight. I don't know who would win. I don't know who would win that fight. Ray is the better fighter, but Oscar got all the other intangibles. Like, he had tenacity. He had a lot of heart. He could close like a motherfucker. I mean, he was fast too. I mean, so I don't know who would win. They'd be throwing hands though. That would be a barn burner. He had a hell of a chin too. Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson says pre-1970s heavyweight, then light heavyweight. Yeah. You know, remember the divisions were wider. So light heavyweight went all the way up to 175, but anything north of 175 was heavyweight. Right? We didn't have no cruiserweight division. That came after. And so the divisions were actually wider. So you had like flyweight to featherweight. That's it. That was one flyweight to bantamweight. That was one fucking division. So you're talking about from 112 all the way up to 118. And then from bantamweight to featherweight, which was from 118 all the way up to 126, right? And then you had from featherweight all the way up to lightweight. So that's 126 all the way up to 135. All that gap was a division. And then from lightweight, you went to welterweight from 135 to 147. All right, that's a gap of 12 pounds. All of that was welterweight. And then from 147 all the way up to 160, which is 13 pounds. From 147 to 160 was middleweight. And then from 160 to 175, which is a gap of 15 pounds, all of that was like heavyweight. And then from 175 all the way up to 200, all of that gap, well, 175 to whatever, right? But all of that gap was heavyweight. So that's how that went down. Yeah. In Joe's days, cruiserweight was heavyweight. Right. Yeah, exactly. Mr. Pitch and Mike Tyson says the Jinx Spinks. I forget his loss to Mike Tyson, as he was rarely a light heavy. That's true. He was a light heavy that jumped. He was a hell of a light heavy. That's another great light heavy, right? We had all bunch of them. Me personally, the greatest light heavyweight of all time, did not win a light heavyweight title. His name is Ezra Charles. Okay? That's the greatest light heavyweight of all time. You guys will talk about Archie Moore. You will talk about Michael Spinks. You'll talk about hold on a second, I'll tell you. The guy who fought Muhammad Ali at heavyweight. He got knocked out, but he fought really well. He was a great light heavyweight as well. Right? We got Roy Jones Jr., we got Antonio Tarver, we got, Bernard Hopkins. We got a lot of great light heavyweights, right? Throughout history. But at the end of the day, the greatest for me was Ezra Charles. Never won a light heavyweight title, but I thought he was the greatest. He beat everybody. And won the heavyweight championship of the world. I thought that was pretty cool. Anyways, guys, that's what I got. So Deontay Wilder, I'm not saying he's the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. I'm sorry. At present, I don't think he's the best right now. But, hey, I could understand why some people think that he's the best because of this knockout. But you think about it, just reflect on it, you will realize, wait a minute, this is the same guy that he knocked out before. He just knocked him out earlier, which is true. Yeah, the guy came back better condition, probably was boxing better and everything, but it's the same style. And Wilder knew how to deal with a style like that. Even though it didn't look like he was doing much, he knows what to do. He had to counter it. And the first time he got to properly counter it, the guy was knocked out. So that's what it is. Right? All right, my peoples. I'm going to catch y'all later. Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. The rematch is coming up. And we will see. I picked Tyson Fury to win, but let's just see. Maybe Deontay Wilder gets past Tyson Fury. Maybe by getting bailed out with a knockout. But in my opinion, there's no luck in boxing. And so he'll have to set up Tyson Fury for a knockout. But I think he's going to have to work the body of Tyson Fury if he can get the body shots available. If Tyson Fury starts to close the distance, get to the inside of Deontay Wilder, he's going to have a lot of problems because he's not going to get the knockout that he's looking for. And if Tyson Fury happens to win those rounds, Tyson Fury putting rounds in the bag is not a good thing for Deontay Wilder. I think Tyson Fury boxes. I mean, he's not as versatile as Deontay Wilder in terms of skill set and what he does with styles, but he is much more honed in his skills. And as a result of that, it's going to be a problem for Deontay Wilder to actually get the win over him by points. So he's going to have to look for the knockout. And if that's all you counting on, that ain't enough for me. I don't care if you get the knockout of most fights. This is not the same dude that you're dealing with. This dude went to the finish line with you the first time. He's probably going to go to the finish line with you the second time. And he's probably going to box you even better than he was boxing you before. So I just don't see how he can. He has to try and go to the body and then mix it up to the head. That's easier said than done, especially with Tyson Fury's defense, even though he was beaten up at first by Otto Wilder and then made adjustments. So Tyson Fury is going to be a problem for Deontay Wilder to solve. He will think that he solved the problem by catching Tyson Fury late in the fight and catching him in the 9th round, which I thought was a shot to the back of the head, which should not have been counted. So either way, he going to have to try and get something, because he going to have to hope and a prayer to beat Tyson Fury. If that's what he's counting on. He looked real stupid in that first fight against Tyson Fury. I think Tyson Fury is going to make him even more stupid in this fight. And he just doesn't realize it. And Tyson Fury's staying active and everything. So he's healthier, he's stronger. And, yeah, I don't want to say no more than that. I just think that Tyson Fury's style is kryptonite for Deontay Wilder, period. You know, Andy Ruiz was kryptonite for Anthony Joshua. You know what would be funny? Andy Ruiz beats Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury beats Deontay Wilder. And what we end up with is Andy Ruiz and Tyson Fury as the champions. Who'd have thunk? What do we do then? Maybe it'd make it easier for Dillian White to face Tyson Fury. Who knows? What I can say is that it would be very ironical if Andy Ruiz ends up being the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. That's all I'm saying. Even though I don't see how he beats Tyson Fury. It could be Tyson Fury that ends up being that. Who knows? We'll see. Who knows? Boxing is a weird sport. I can't really say. But we'll see how it goes. But hopefully Deontay Wilder could beat Tyson Fury. But if he can't beat Tyson Fury, it's going to be a problem. Because Tyson Fury going to be the WBC champion. He ought to get the belt that he didn't get before. And Tyson Fury is such a clown. You know he's going to make a host of the noise. I don't know if he'll face Andy Ruiz next. But if he does face Andy Ruiz is going to be a problem for him to solve. But he can fight it in the inside, so we'll see. Andy Ruiz got fast hands on the inside, though. Fury could beat Ruiz. I'm not saying no. But Ruiz going to give him problems, because Ruiz going to be bringing it systematically. So I don't know. If AJ beats Ruiz, he's the best heavyweight. No. He was supposed to beat him the first time. He wasn't the best heavyweight then, was he? I mean, that's if. That's a big if that Anthony Joshua beats Ruiz. I'll be happy if he does for him. But Andy Ruiz is not what he seems. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. So we'll see. Andy Ruiz is not what he seems. He knows how to bring the pressure, and he knows how to bring it right. So it's gonna be tough. And if Anthony Joshua slips up, boom, 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 boom. There's a barrage of punches coming. Andy Ruiz beats AJ again. I think so. That's my personal opinion. Styles make fights. AJ will have had the best resume, best wins, best accomplishments. I will be unified. How would he not be the best heavyweight? I understand what you're saying. So, coming from that perspective, yes, he would be the best heavyweight. The problem is, I think Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder beats him. That's just my personal opinion, based on the styles. Just like how Jarrell Miller and Andy Ruiz, I think they could beat Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, because they have the style that's kryptonite to both of them, even though they both can fight on the inside. So that's my personal opinion. Andy Ruiz got such hand speed that he's going to always outthrow and outland you on the inside. I think that's what makes him very, very dangerous. And he works the body really well. Raul Ramirez says probably the same outcome. Yeah. Once Ruiz gets in range, it's going to be a problem. They don't say styles make fights for no reason. Yeah, it's a bad style for AJ. It's a bad style for that's just what it is, I think. Tangible Boxing, what's up, bro? Well, I think Jerome Ennis beats Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, and Danny Garcia, but I don't rank Ennis above them because he's not proven like those guys. Yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen Jerome Ennis, so I can't really say. I hear people talking about he the best in the upcoming guys at welterweight, but I don't know. I don't know. I'll be able to tell you if I see him. Then I'll be able to tell you what I think. But I haven't seen him, so I can't tell you. See, that's the thing. I don't judge people until I see them. That's why I say you have to watch the fights. Ennis is better than Virgil Ortiz. Okay. I can't take your word for it, though. You understand? I'm just listening to your opinion. I'll have to see it for myself, and then I'll be able to tell you. Right? That makes sense? Jerome Ennis reminds me of Roy and Perno. Okay. I haven't seen him, so I can't say. When I see him, after I see him, then I'll be able to agree or disagree or add my statements and comments to it, but I haven't really actually watched him. I know he was on the card which Clarissa Shields was supposed to be on, and he stopped some guy or something like that. You should watch his fights. Yeah, well, I haven't gotten around to it yet. The other guy I saw was Evander Holyfield's son, and he dusted off a guy. But the dude, in his stuff, Shields in round 1, we can all agree. I can't agree with you because I've never seen him fight, so I can't say. Y'all be talking things that I don't even know. I don't even know the level of competition he's faced. I don't know nothing about Jerome Ennis. Nothing. So I can't agree with you if I haven't seen him. I can't agree with you. I don't know. I can't say till I've seen him. Like we talk about, Tyson Fury beating Deontay Wilder based on this previous fight. We don't know what will happen in the ring, to be honest with you, until we see it. Raul Ramirez says, I think Evan will be better than Evander. I can't say. I mean, I saw Evan face a guy that was a debutant. So, one loss or some shit like that. He was coming off a loss or something. So, I can't really say. I mean, he came in with tenacity, went a dude's jugular one time, got him out of there like he was supposed to. But to say, I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. We want to see, Tangible Boxing says, damn. Yeah, I learned from the Devin Haney experience not to judge fighters too quickly. I was saying Devin Haney he would beat Lomachenko. Well, actually, I'm not too sure about that no more. I don't know why Lomachenko don't want to face him. That's easy work, but it is what it is. Maybe it's easy work. I don't know. It looks like easy work. I don't know if it's easy work, actually. I kind of that slip of the tongue. It's not easy work at all, but maybe that's the reason why you don't want to face him. Maybe it's tougher competition than maybe the winner of Richard Comey and Teofimo Lopez. I don't know. I'm just shooting the breeze here, asking a question. Maybe in his mind, I don't know. Maybe he just wanted to be unified. Who knows? Raul Ramirez says Devin Haney beats Lomachenko in 2 years. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Right now he has in front of him Fortuna. So that's Javier Fortuna is the guy he has in front of him. That's what he has to deal with. So Lomachenko right now should not be forefront in his mind. Fortuna should be the dude. That's if he wants to stay at lightweight. If he's moving up to super lightweight, well, he's moving up to super lightweight. But Fortuna is the guy in front of him. Anyway, guys, I spent a lot of time with you guys. I got to get my butt out of here. It was good talking with you guys. Don't forget you can subscribe, share, and donate via Western Union or MoneyGram, as well as comment on this video if you feel like commenting on it outside of this stream. Till then, guys, deuces. I'm what you need. Catch you guys later. Peace.